Jenny McCarthy Show.
Oh! Hi, Dr. Phil.
Jenny, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I am well.
I'm so excited to talk to you. When I saw you on my upcoming list, I was like, yes. You know how you get excited about certain guests that come in?
Well, I'm excited to talk to you.
Thanks.
And you're in Chicago, right?
I'm in Chicago, yeah.
Yeah. What's the weather there?
It's very kind of brisk, but lots of pollen.
Yeah, I miss Chicago. Remember, I went there every Tuesday for like 5 years.
It's a great city, isn't it?
It really is. I love it.
The people are down to earth and cool, and much like yourself from Texas, you kind of got that same welcoming, approachable vibe.
Yeah, I love it there. So I would have
congrats-
come there if I'd known you were there. I'd have just dropped right in.
Next time, you're coming right in my basement.
That's it.
I'll have Dr. Phil in my basement. Dr. Phil, you guys can check out drphil.com for local listings. Obviously, you can see it everywhere. But Dr. Phil, intheblanks.com is the podcast he's also promoting, along with, he's got, just 9 #1 New York Times bestsellers. What haven't you done yet that you want to do, Dr. Phil?
Well, it's always something, right? It's
Right.
Things are changing. And so you got to change with them. That's why I'm doing things in the digital space. People are getting their information a lot digitally, and so I'm doing some podcasts, and I'm really enjoying that. And I'm
It's
still
fun.
doing the show. Yeah, it is fun, isn't it?
Yeah, you get to have like real conversations. You don't have to worry about, when to break. It's just
Yeah.
normal back and forth.
When I'm on the show, I've got a problem in front of me that I have to solve.
Right.
You're there, and people have come, and it's very important to them, and you've got to stay focused on that, and you've got to do what you have to do. When I'm doing fill in the blanks, for example, I'm talking to interesting people about interesting things, and I don't have a problem to solve. I'm not stamping out disease and suffering today. I just get to talk to somebody, and it's really been interesting. And
The pressure's off.
Yeah,
What
it
kind of
really
guests
is.
can we expect?
Well, in my guest last week was really interesting because I wanted to. I look at all the different demos, and so if you look from the start, my first guest was Shaquille O'Neal. I've had Charles Barkley on. My guest this week is an expert. He was an ex-con. He got caught up in securities fraud, spent time in prison, got out, reinvented himself. He now advises people that are in white-collar crime situations. And he's dealing with a lot of these people in the university scam
Right
now that paid for their kids to get into college. He's advising a lot of them and talking about what they need to do to get their situation as well managed as possible, and talking about how they're making huge mistakes and they are going to prison.
Right.
And so we were talking about all that because he's been to prison and he knows what they've already burned bridges where there's no turning back. This isn't a probation situation. They're going to prison. And then he's talking about, the 5 big mistakes you make in prison. And it's not just dropping the soap. It's like there's like some really serious things that you got to do right in prison.
Not that I expect to go there, but can you name a couple?
Sure. Like he said, for example, you don't talk to the guards. And I'm like, what? You don't talk to, he said, do they open the door for you? You say, hey, thanks, But he said, you don't talk to the guards in prison, because he said, you can be standing there chatting up a guard, and 15 minutes later, they go toss some guy's cell and find drugs, and everybody says, hey, 15 minutes ago, I saw him talking to that guy, and all of a sudden, you're labeled a snitch, and you're in serious trouble. He said, you don't go to the television room at night. He said, because that's where all the gambling takes place. He said 90% of the fights in prison take place in the television room at night. And he said, that's where you get in a fight. You get time tacked on. You don't do that.
I learned a lot from watching 60 Days In. 60
Yeah.
Days In. I don't know if you've seen that show, but that's the same kind of correlation. I know you had that business Courtroom Sciences. What would you have advised this university scandal parents? What would you say to them?
Well, look, here's the thing. When you're in that kind of a situation, and, I did have Courtroom Sciences because I did forensic training after my PhD programs, and the problem that I get is the people know what they have on them. Because you say, well, the lawyer will say, well, we can see what they have. How good's their case? You know what their case is because you were there. This guy rolled a year ago. They've had a wire on him. Everybody he's talked to in the last year is on recording. So you're sitting there telling your lawyer, oh, it's this or that. No, you know what they have on you. And if you know they've got you, you should run, not walk, to the prosecutor and cut a deal as fast as you can, because the more time they have into it, the more sweat equity they have into it, the more you piss them off, the worse deal you're going to get.
And it sounds like that's happened.
Yeah, the first person that makes a deal, and it includes any jail time whatsoever, everybody after that is going to get more time.
Wow.
So you need
Felicity Hoffman did the right thing. Lori
she
Loughlin
did exactly the right thing.
Do you think Lori and her husband, and I can't really, put this on them, but I wanted to know, do you think it's more of their own denial, or is it the lawyers giving bad advice to maybe fight?
Who knows? Because a lot of times lawyers, they'll want to fight. They'll say, we can do this. And then they get on the courthouse steps and say, you better take a deal. I know you did pay me $1.5 million to get you down here to tell you what you should have done 6 months ago. Now you're out $1.5 million and you're going to jail. But maybe the client's not taking the lawyer's advice. You just never know. Right. But I mean, come on, you know what they know.
Do you think that the prosecutors are going to want to also set an example and make sure that everyone sees they are getting jail time? Because we've seen celebrities get off plenty of times.
Look, nobody goes to law school to become a prosecutor for the government. Every one of them is doing this so they can become a defense lawyer. And everyone that becomes a defense lawyer says, I never lost a case. Have you ever seen anybody that worked for the district attorney's office or the U.S. attorney's office that says they lost a case? Hell no. You know why? Because they never take a case that they can't win. They wait until they've got it lined up, locked, sure. They have unlimited resources, unlimited detectives. They don't take a case if they can't win it. So they can go to the defense side of the docket and say, let me tell you how good I am. I never lost a case. So let me tell you, they didn't bring this case until they knew they had it locked up.
Exactly. Smart. Oh, that's why lawyers are pretty smart. I do have to ask you, because I'm a huge fan of your show, Addicted. I talk about it all the time. I was afraid you're going to bring me on for an intervention that I watched too much of your show, but maybe not.
Oh, hell no.
It seems like there's an overwhelming, because I do watch a lot of Dateline also. When you interviewed Chris Watts' family, that story, I think, took everyone's heart and soul and just tore it apart, listening to their family and the story of what Chris Watts did. What goes on in these spouses' minds that they think that by having an affair, a good way out is to murder their spouse?
Well,
it seems...
Chris Watts is a malignant narcissist, and everybody looks at it and says, if you don't want to be there, just get a divorce. I mean, come on, buddy. You don't kill your wife who's pregnant and your 2 little girls. Look, a narcissist only looks at it from their point of view. And your story goes a whole lot better when you're the only one telling it. And he's the only one telling it in his head. And the first time somebody starts pushing back and asking questions, he folds up like a tent in a windstorm. You saw the first time they asked him questions in his driveway. I mean, listen, the village idiot could tell he was lying. He's rocking back and forth. He won't look. The lie signs were like a Navy flagman waving.
They were.
It was so obvious. And then when he's at his neighbor's house and they're looking at the footage, it turns out that's when he was putting the bodies in the back of the truck. And he's standing there, he's got his hands on his head. And that's like, oh my God. I mean, the body
it's like
language.
Blue paint in a burglary.
Exactly. It's just unbelievable. But he never thought of that. And people say he snapped. Let me tell you, he didn't snap. Where he took the bodies to that oil rig
Yeah.
and put the children in those oil tanks. There was a crew scheduled to be there that day to fix a leak. He canceled that crew the day before so nobody would be there but him.
Oh, God.
He did that the day before.
So it was very
So he
premeditated.
knew
Yeah,
he knew he was coming out there with dead bodies.
What a sicko. You know, you look at his face and his family photos and you don't put those together, but that doesn't matter. I know that doesn't matter. But for some reason, that one got me.
No, but you're exactly right. When you look at him, these predators are among us. You would stand next to him at the store and he might help you. You drop something, he'd pick it up and hand it to you. You think, what a nice guy. You know, he's clean cut, all American looking guy. He did not scream murderer at all.
No.
The typical signs were not there. He was lying. He was cheating. There was deception. There probably was some violence in the marriage, but it was not enough that the police had gotten involved or he had left over it. So it wasn't like a pattern. There weren't any huge warning signs here.
There weren't. And speaking of the way someone looks or acts, the show you did, and I'm going back into your well of Dr. Phil shows, but when you interviewed JonBenet's brother,
yes,
that interview was incredible. Just to witness and watch his face. He was smiling at you the whole time, Dr. Phil. Mm-hmm. And I know people, when they get nervous, they smile, but it was a different kind of awkward smile.
Well, awkward's the right word.
Yes.
Yeah, he is socially awkward. And you have to understand, since this guy was 10 years old, he has been under suspicion. He has been in a spotlight. He has had to hide. He did not get socialized like other people. And I can tell you with 100% certainty, he did not kill his little sister.
That's what I wanted to know.
And when people saw that, I even went on Facebook Live between shows that I was doing with him to say, guys, this smile that you're seeing is anxiety.
Okay.
Because I would talk to him, when he would get on camera, he would kind of freeze up. I would talk to him off camera, and he was really a pretty normal guy.
Okay.
But
that's good to know.
It was just anxiety. It was just an awkward anxiety that he had, but he didn't kill her. And of course, the network ran a series that said he did.
Oh, that's right. That's special. That doc.
And they got sued, and they settled for a lot of money for saying he killed his sister.
You know, speaking of these crime shows, and I know crime podcasts, they're so popular right now. What is it that we love watching and listening to these crimes?
Well,
something wrong with us?
No, all behavior's on a continuum. I mean, just, draw a horizontal line, and all behavior is on that continuum. So this is on the continuum of human behavior, and people think, how distorted, how demented, how deranged would I have to be? Like Chris Watts, for example. Think who you are now. How far out would you have to get to do what he did? You can't even conceive of it.
No, I couldn't.
You would kill yourself before you would do what he did.
In a second, yes.
I mean, it's not even a question. And so when people see somebody go there, when people see somebody go there, they like, I don't understand this. I want to understand this. I need to know what it is about human nature that's so dark, because my job is to protect my family. I want to understand who these people are and how they got to be that way.
You're right. So it's like an internal curiosity of why people do the things they do. I do want to, I'm talking to Dr. Phil. Let me plug your stuff again, Dr. Phil. Not that you need it, because everyone loves you. drphil.com for local listings. Also his podcast, drphilandtheblanks.com. Britney Spears has been in the news. She's been in the news, obviously, for a long time. But is she someone you ever interviewed?
No, I've never interviewed her. And I saw recently she said that people were talking about she was being held in a hospital. I said, that doesn't happen. I mean, come on. This is America. And you do not deprive someone of their freedom in America without due process and without a whole lot of steps going on. So when people start saying they're being held, that somebody's being held against their will, you can Baker Act someone or 5150 someone for up to 72 hours, but that's pretty hard to do. But anything beyond that, it's just not happening.
It's not true then. And she did come out the other day and say, you guys, stop with the lies. I'm going through hard stuff. Leave me alone.
I believe her 100%.
Oh, good. I'm glad you confirmed that. I do want to bring up the fact that I was in a little music video recently.
Let me tell you, that was so cool. Thank you so much for doing that. Jordan was just over the moon, and that music video has just gone crazy.
I'm so happy for him. If you guys don't know, Jordan's song Flexible is out online right now. You can check it out. When did he get into the music business?
Well, he's been a musician for years, and he had a band, 100 Handed, and they were on tour for like 3 years, and he did 200 or 300 live shows, and he toured with all different people, but he has now gone solo, and Flexible is his first solo single.
It's a great song.
Isn't it great? Gets in your head, doesn't it?
I purposely worked out for 1 week just for that.
Well, you look great.
Thanks, Dr. Phil. I saw that, Joe Jonas from the Jonas Brothers, he directed it, and we all know who he's married to. She was on your show talking about depression, which I'm so grateful that, people are out talking about it. But Dr. Phil, it is crazy. I read something like since the 1950s, depression has increased 10 times since then. I mean, it's out of control. It's younger and younger, the generations are getting diagnosed with depression. Why is that?
Well, I think that we're moving young people through life a lot faster than we were before. And I actually think a lot of this depression is what I call success depression. And there is success depression is a thing. You see it with wealthy people, successful people at the holidays, for example, because when it actually gets to Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, it's like there's nothing else they can do. And so they feel like, I want to help, I want to do things, but there's nothing else I can do. It's now time. And I think that we cheat kids when we give them so much that they don't have the opportunity to earn anything. Because the way you learn about yourself is the same way you learn about other people. If you watch somebody, maybe you work with somebody and they're there first thing in the morning every morning. They're the ones that turn on the lights, start the coffee at the office, get everything ready. They're never missed, never been sick. So you attribute certain traits to them, right? You say they're reliable, they're dependable, they're Johnny on the spot. You observe them and make attributions to them based on those observations. That's the same way we form our own self-image. We watch what we do, we watch what we accomplish, achieve, and overcome, and based on that, we make self-attributions. And if you don't let a kid conquer certain things,
that's right,
break through certain boundaries, overcome certain obstacles, they never make attributions of competency. And so they do get depressed. They don't have those good feelings of worth and esteem, because it's like now a kid's on a kid baseball team, they give every kid on the team a trophy. A friend of mine's kid was on a baseball team that just finished, and they went 0-14, and every kid on the team got a trophy.
I can't believe they're still doing that.
Yeah.
I heard that 10 years ago, and parents haven't learned their lessons yet.
What? You got a trophy for what?
Right? Showing up.
Listen, give them a lot of love. Give them a lot of encouragement, but don't give them a trophy for going 0-14.
No, don't give them a trophy. I also think that social media and all that negativity, too, doesn't help, especially at such a young age. I know I only have a little bit left with you, but I wanted to know how, Dr. Phil, how do you deal with negative comments? Because the average person has to deal with them also. But what about on your level?
Well, of course. And fortunately for me, I'm not one of those people that is afflicted with the need to be loved by strangers. So if there's some kid sitting in his mother's basement that hadn't seen sunlight for 6 months and he's sitting there saying, "You suck. You're the worst doctor in the history of the world. I wish you would shut up." Okay, I got one word to say: remote control. Change the channel, jerk off. I don't care.
Have you ever replied to someone just out of
Never.
Never.
I don't read them, and I don't reply to them. I mean, why empower them? I don't care.
I take my husband's advice, which is if you're going to look in the toilet, you're going to find some shit. So don't go looking.
Yeah. I did see one that I really liked. It said, "I would rather have Dr. Pepper operate on my dick than take advice from Dr. Phil."
That is the best.
I thought,
you can only laugh.
I thought, now that's good. I like this guy. I don't care if he doesn't like me. I like this guy.
I like that guy too. That one I would have given a like to. Your wife, you guys, I love the way you guys walk out of the show. She's, from what I think I've met her once, a wonderful woman. What is that secret to your happy marriage?
She's really good at being married. That's what I give her a lot of credit. She has a lot of patience, and she's really good at this being married stuff. She's a long time ago. We've been married 42 years, if you can imagine. 42 years. And by the way, I'm not saying that's a long time, in case she's listening. It's not too long. I'm just saying. And you really get to know each other in that span of time. We've been together 45 years. We've been married 42. And we've really learned each other. And we have a lot of mutual respect. We spend time together. We spend time apart. I mean, sometimes we'll be in the same house and get up, and I won't see her till 3 o'clock in the afternoon because she'll be off here and I'll be off there. And that's okay. We give each other all the space we need, and it's great.
And do you have fights like normal couples?
We have disagreements, and we deal with things as they come up. The worst mistake people can make is just kind of what I call gunny sacking it. You just put it in a sack and just keep it and keep it until it builds up so much that you just blow up. And we deal with it when it comes up right there, right now. And so there are a lot of little things that you can disagree about. And we made a deal, and that is our goal when we have a disagreement is that I want to be heard. You don't have to agree with me, just hear me. And her deal is you don't have to agree with me, just hear me. And that's where we stop. And then across time, you find a way to each person gets as much as they possibly can out of what they want. But if you put it in a win-lose situation and you win, what's that make your partner?
Exactly.
A loser.
That's
Who
right.
wants to be married to a loser?
No one.
You don't want to do that. So don't make it a win-lose situation. It doesn't have to be that. Just be.
Really
we just say, just hear me, and then do with that what you will. And across time, that's worked out where we both get what we want.
That's a good tip because people forget to listen. That's a very important tool. Dr. Phil McGraw, I adore you. I think your show is amazing. I think what you're doing is great. You guys check out drphil.com for local listings. He also has a podcast, drphilintheblanks.com, along with many books. Anything else you want to promote? Aren't you going to be in Niagara Falls or something like that?
No. I'm just going to wait until you let me come back here the next time.
I can't wait because you know what? I literally was up last night. I have like 85 more questions for Dr. Phil. So you'll have to come back. Promise me that.
Promise. If you'll let me back, I'll be here.
All right, Dr. Phil, tell your son I said hello.
I
and
will.
If he ever needs anything else from this old lady.
Thank you for starring on the Flexible Video.
You're so welcome. Tell him congratulations. Thanks, Dr. Phil.
You bet. So long.
We'll be right back, guys.
Jenny McCarthy Show. Oh!